Okay, good afternoon. How many people know, let's have a show of hands, how many people know that the Bible was never originally divided into chapters?
Combien déjà connaissent qu'originellement la Bible n'a pas été divisée en chapitres?
Now, why do we have these chapter divisions? They were added a long time after the Bible was finished.
Pourquoi nous avons ces chapitres? C'est parce qu'ils ont été augmentés après que la Bible est finie.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's all turn to that passage in Isaiah that talks about the waves of the sea and God stirs up the waves of the sea. Let's all turn to that passage in Isaiah that says that.
On va aller dans Ésaïe.
It takes a long time to find because I've not given you a reference.
Ça va prendre beaucoup de temps de pouvoir les retrouver parce que je ne vous ai pas donné les références.
This is why we have the references.
Et c'est pour cela que nous avons les références.
But they are not there for personal Bible study.
Mais ils ne sont pas là pour l'étude biblique personnelle.
I've just got a letter from a friend. It's not a real letter, it's fake, but
J'ai eu une lettre venant d'un ami qui n'est pas une
I've just
lettre
received
réelle.
it. I'm going to take a couple of paragraphs. I'm going to put chapter 1.
Je vais prendre un paragraphe pour le chapitre 1.
Then I'm going to divide it up into a couple more paragraphs. I'm going to put chapter 2.
Et je vais les diviser dans quelques paragraphes et avoir le chapitre 3.
And so on till I get to chapter 20.
Et je vais partir comme cela jusqu'au chapitre 20.
I'm going to read chapter 1 on Monday,
Je vais lire le chapitre 1 le
chapter
mardi,
2 on Tuesday,
le chapitre 2 le mardi.
and so it goes on. By the end of the week, I'll completely have forgotten who's actually written the letter, why it's been written, the context.
Et à la fin de la semaine, je ne saurais pas savoir qui a écrit cette lettre, qu'est-ce qu'il a écrit et le contenu de la lettre.
It's very important when we read the Bible that we read it as God gave it to us.
C'est très important que lorsque nous lisons la Bible, nous devons la lire comme Dieu nous l'a donnée.
For example, the book of Romans was a letter.
Exemple, le bouc de Romains, c'était une lettre.
Paul starts, he addresses the church,
Paul a commencé à s'adresser à l'Église
and the whole letter is written for the church.
et toutes ces lettres sont écrites pour les
We can
Églises.
forget the context when we break it up into chapters.
On peut oublier les contextes lorsqu'on les brise en chapitres.
Today I'm going to read across the middle of the chapter division in Mark's Gospel.
Et aujourd'hui, je vais lire au milieu d'un chapitre dans le livre de Marc.
Let's turn together to Mark chapter 4,
Si on peut aller ensemble dans Marc chapitre 4,
verse 35.
verset 35.
This is one of the great adventure stories in the Bible.
Ça, c'est une histoire d'aventure qui se trouve dans la Bible.
This is a historical event.
C'est une histoire qui est historique.
We're going to find out about the power that Jesus has
On va voir quelle est la puissance que Jésus-Christ avait
over the nature he created,
et sur les créatures qu'il avait créées,
the people he made,
au peuple qu'il a fait,
and the demons who oppose him.
et aussi les démons qui ont été opposés à cela.
We will see in this story how Jesus is Lord over all.
Et on va voir dans cette histoire comment Jésus-Christ est le Seigneur de tout.
We see not only God's power and authority,
On ne va pas seulement voir la puissance de Dieu et l'autorité,
but we also see the depth of his love and care.
mais on va aller aussi voir la dette de comment il prend soin de nous.
I'm going to read first in English, then we'll have it in French as well.
Et il lira d'abord en anglais et je l'aurai en français.
That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along, just as he was in the boat. There were other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat, so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and waves obey him." They went across the lake to the region of Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an evil spirit came to him. He came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot. but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When Jesus saw him from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees, or rather when he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of Jesus. He shouted at the top of the voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God that you won't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the evil spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and told him about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your family and tell them how much the Lord has done for you, and how much he has had mercy on you." The man went away and began to tell him the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. Okay, it's too long, I'm going to carry on. First, we discover that Jesus left the crowd.
Avant, nous allons voir comment Jésus-Christ a quitté la foule.
Jesus always obeyed the will of his Father.
Jésus-Christ avait toujours obéi à la volonté de son Père. Il dira,
I only do what I see the Father doing.
je fais ce que je vis le Père faire.
Sometimes obeying God seems senseless to the human mind.
Deux fois, obéir l'Éternel, ça se voit comme si c'était une chose qui est insensée.
Think about Noah's Ark.
Et pensez à l'arc de Noé.
It hadn't rained on the land for years.
Il était là sur le bord de la mer pour des années.
And this man Noah, in spite of what everybody else says,
Et cet homme Noé, au lieu de tout ce que les autres gens disaient,
decides he's going to build a boat.
avait décidé qu'il aura à construire cette
Not just any old
barque.
boat, but a really big boat.
Pas seulement une pirogue normale, mais une très grande pirogue.
And he's going to go further than that. He's going to jam-pack it full of animals.
Et il allait aller plus loin que cela et avoir d'animaux qui étaient full dans cette botte.
Insane in the minds of man.
Dans la mémoire d'une personne humaine.
But it proved to be a sensible move as time went by.
Dans la mémoire d'une personne humaine, ça peut être insensé, mais ça a été un mouvement.
Paul said that the gospel, our good news, is foolishness.
Et Paul dira, la parole de Dieu se ressemble comme la folie.
Foolishness to those who are perishing.
La folie à ceux qui ne croient pas.
But to those God has called,
Mais à ceux que Dieu a appelés,
it is Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God.
ça donne le pouvoir de Dieu et donne la sagesse de Dieu.
Human brains say, well, why didn't Jesus stay with the crowd?
Le cerveau d'un être humain dira pourquoi Jésus-Christ est resté avec cette foule.
That's where all the people were.
C'est là où tout le monde était.
That's where his ministry was.
C'est là où son ministère était.
Surely there was a lot to be gained from staying there.
Sûrement, il y avait beaucoup à gagner pour lui de rester là.
But Jesus did the will of his Father.
Mais Jésus-Christ avait fait la volonté de son Père.